Hello and welcome to The Great Beyond, an Is This Good companion pod where we follow up on last week's episode, answer listener questions, and catch up with each other. The person I'm catching up with is, of course, Jason Doyle.
Hello.
Hi, JD. Thanks for coming today. We are going to talk about Oppenheimer in this episode, but we're going to talk about it at the end.
Right.
Spoiler. So we won't spoil
yeah,
it for anyone.
Spoils, yeah.
But before I asked you, did anything good or bad happen to you this week, I wanted to pitch ahead to Oppenheimer by telling you the story of what happened on my way to see Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Again, this has nothing to do with the movie. There's no spoilers here, right? So
Okay.
I think I told you cannot see Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter here in LA because all the actors and writers are out of work and everyone is just seeing movies at random times during the day, right? Yeah. And it's only 2 screens and it's fucking a giant city. So I had to buy these tickets 2 weeks in advance, and I knew that no matter what happens, the day that I'm going to see this movie, like the day that it comes up in the calendar, I'm going to be like, I really don't want to spend 3 hours indoors right now. And that's, of course, exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It was a Friday night. It was last Friday night, so about a week ago.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful day. It had been hot as hell here. It cooled down a bit. Jill's at this new job. She's working super hard. She had just finished her day. She was like, oh, it's so beautiful. I just want to go sit on a patio, have a drink. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to... Oh, unfortunately, no. Sorry, we can't do that. We got to go see Oppenheimer. So it's playing at the Chinese Theater, which, it's like the famous thing on Hollywood Boulevard with the handprints. Yeah, all right. So we drive like halfway across town to get there. We're in traffic. We go into this shitty underground parking lot, come up. We don't know where we are. It's like all the people dressed as Spider-Man are there.
Yeah.
Finally, we go, and it's only one screen in the Chinese theater.
Okay.
And so there's a long line of people, right? Because everyone's getting there at the same time for this thing. And as we're going in, the guy's checking our tickets, and I just hear him go, yeah, yeah. And as we go up, he looks at my tickets, he goes, yep. And almost as I'm passing me, he goes, just so you know, the 70 millimeter isn't working tonight.
Oh.
I'm like, just so I know?
But what does that mean?
Sir,
what are they?
Sir, we've been planning this for 2 weeks.
So are they showing it on 16 millimeter? Like what do they? I guess they have a spare
projector. It was just
projector?
regular IMAX.
Oh, just regular old IMAX.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm an idiot, right? So I said, well, why? What happened? He said, oh, it's jammed. Does that sound like a good explanation to you?
It sounds like exactly what happened to me when I went to see Borat at the midnight screening at the Toronto International Film Festival. Same thing.
Oh, but that wasn't 70 millimeter.
No, but the projector broke.
Okay, well, this was... yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I guess it doesn't matter. I wouldn't have understood anyway. But it was just regular IMAX. So would you have gone?
Would I have gone?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you? Because they were saying you can get a refund.
Interesting.
Or obviously you could see it in regular IMAX.
Yeah, well, that's when you turn to Jill and go, well, what do you think? Because she's the one that wanted to go out, have like a patio drink and all that.
Yeah, well, but then she was definitely wavering. She might not admit it, but she was wavering. But I was like, we drove all the way here. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's going to be a weird night if we just like go back to the underground parking lot, pay for that parking, and then just slink back across the city.
Right.
I like knew it was going to be a bad vibe. So we went, and I'm happy we went because it's like, it's almost 1,000 people in this theater.
Wow.
Which is like, don't you think that IMAX has been ruined in a way? Like when I was a kid, the only IMAXs were almost like in educational places, like big science museums and things like that. And the screen was massive.
Like 6 stories tall. Like
the only
IMAX that was at Ontario Place when I was growing up, in the Cinesphere they called it. That big, it looks like a big golf ball, like on the Toronto Harbor front. Yeah.
Was it a what's it called? Not an IMAX, but there's one like an IMAX that's like a dome.
Yeah, I mean it was sort of curved, I think, not like a planetarium, but like.
Oh, okay. There is one that is at like a half dome.
Oh,
but
okay.
I know what you're talking about, just the general IMAX.
Yeah. It was regular IMAX, but still, like spectacular. Like when I was a kid, they didn't. It was so expensive they could never make a feature in IMAX. Like it was sort of like, oh, we're gonna put an IMAX camera on a plane and fly it across the Antarctic, and that was like, whoa, it feels like we're flying, like that was it. Like
Cheap thrills. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. It'd be like, the beluga whale travels
Exactly.
1,000 miles in a migratory period. Like, it was just about whales. Sometimes they'd be like, they'd go crazy and they would just be about like dinosaurs. You know, they'd do like, or like pre-Jurassic Park CGI about the T-Rex. But yes, this is my point. And when we were there, what I was thinking was, I was like, why can't every fucking movie be on this thing?
Right.
And it looks like my prayer was answered, but then they just shrunk the screens. Like, you go to the mall IMAX, it's tiny.
Yeah. It's sort of, what's the point? Anyway.
That's what I'm saying. They're like, oh, well, it's shot in IMAX, different, aspect ratio, whatever it is.
Oh, you mean a square? Yeah, I have that at home on my TV. What are you talking about?
Isn't IMAX a square?
I don't know. It's more square than it is like a like Panavision was like the 70 millimeter sort of, wide screen, I guess. It's like Quentin Tarantino and all those spaghetti westerns and stuff. I think. I don't know.
Well, I think he did. What's the western he did? Hateful Eight. I think that was in 70 millimeters.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, almost. But and then it kind of worked out because we see the movie, and then on the way out they gave us free tickets for another screening.
Oh, great! Perfect.
So it all worked out. Did anything good or not good happen to you this week?
Well, before I get to that, I have an urgent correction I have to make because for the first time in 17 years, I said something on the show that actually annoyed my wife.
Wow.
Yeah. What a run.
17 years, and over those 17 years, she's listened to 4 episodes?
Well, she listened to the majority of these episodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here's the correction. I told a story about how a woman farted near her in the gym. Mm-hmm. And all of that transpired, as I said, except for the detail that I said that she stalked the woman into the bathroom because she suspected she was going to take a dump, and she did take a dump. Rachel did not stalk the woman and follow her into the bathroom. The woman left the Stairmaster while Rachel was sort of finishing up. She had about 10 minutes left. Mm-hmm. The woman was gone for about 10 minutes. Rachel finished up her workout, gathered her things, and the woman returned to the Stairmaster. Now Rachel was leaving at that time, and as is Rachel's habit, she likes to visit the restroom before she leaves the gym. And she went into the restroom, I should say, and could not go past the entranceway. Basically, she opened the door, and it was so fouled that she just aborted the mission and continued out the gym. But she was mortified to think that people out there, and the Discord were making some jokes, let's be honest, that she had followed the woman. She did not follow the woman. She just put 2 and 2 together, pardon the pun, and deduced, pardon the pun, that the woman was gone. She was gone for the 10 minutes to evacuate her bowels that was causing the stink in the first place. Anyways, I apologize.
Yes. Okay. I think this is an important correction because what you left people with the impression with was that your wife stalked another woman, like your wife toucan Sam'd a woman into the bathroom.
That's right. She did not do that.
But it's a good thing you made the correction because now we don't know that. We no longer think that your wife is a weirdo who follows people into the bathroom, following her scent. Mm-hmm. But now we know that your wife does like to take a big dump before she leaves the gym. So right. I think this is an important correction. I think she's going to feel much better. And that her day was ruined because she couldn't take said dump due to prior dump. Exactly.
She had some stops to make, too, before getting to her home base to take that dump. So, yeah.
Okay, Rachel, everything's cleared up. Don't worry. Follow your nose to poo flavors. It goes. Let me do. You know what? You remind me. I have a correction too.
Okay.
On the TAS episode, which came out on Monday.
Yeah.
2 times in the show, We mentioned a song from The Little Mermaid, which Tass said went les croissants, right, how I love les croissants. And immediately when he said it, I was like, isn't that from Beauty and the Beast? Because obviously there's baking. I mean, it's in France, you know?
Yeah, and there's
I don't know how to get an oven underwater. So I was confused. And then he's like, no, I see The Little Mermaid all the time. I think it's from Little Mermaid. And then it was brought up again. I can't remember why.
Yeah.
And then literally the show ended, and 5 minutes later I was like, oh, les poissons. How I love les poissons. That's from The Little Mermaid. Nothing to do with croissants.
No.
And then Tass, 5 minutes after that, texted me and was like, oh, fuck, it's poisson, not croissant.
You texted me too, yeah. And I was like, yeah. Whoops.
Whoops. Anyways, obviously poisson meaning fish in French.
French
again, huh?
Yeah.
These Disney people, they love France.
Well, they do. They do.
So that is my correction. I do apologize. I have a big update for you, though, JD.
Okay.
And I hope you haven't seen this yet. Okay, I'm going to share. You've authorized me to share my screen, which I know gives you great pain as a producer of the show. But I want you to take a gander.
Whoa.
At this.
Look at that. Somebody else sent me this on Instagram.
Okay, so what we're looking at is a new Nutella flavor called peanut. And at the bottom it says peanut spread with cocoa. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how you had this genius idea for a new Nutella that was, and maybe you need to correct me here, but wasn't it regular Nutella with crushed peanuts in it?
I mean,
or was it a peanut spread with crushed peanuts in it?
I was just talking about a restaurant, or not a restaurant hack, just a food hack where sometimes I will take crunchy peanut butter and then put Nutella over it, right?
So this is not quite what you wanted.
I mean, I'm into it. It didn't say crunchy. I like crunchy peanut butter, so I like the peanut bits. So there is that, but yeah, the peanutty and peanut chocolate is just an amazing combination, right? So right.
But you still want the hazelnut flavor.
I think I do, actually. I think I do.
Yeah.
But I'm 100% trying the Nutella peanut if I ever see it.
Well, it says it's in test markets for research purposes. Though the place where I got that from, it did say it was in Kroger, and there are Krogers where you live.
There are.
So you never know. Now, one thing to note, they did not call it Nutella, Newtella, which is a miss.
That's a miss.
That's a miss. At least in the advertising, what I want them to do is there's a product shot at the end. You know, the camera is doing its slow push in on it, and it says Nutella, and then it kind of like shunk, like the brand unwraps, and then it goes back to saying Nutella. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that's all I want. That's all I want.
Yeah.
But the more important thing is that this led me, because I was trying to find out, like, first of all, there's like a lot of these websites just devoted to snacking, which to me is like, maybe the internet's too big. But obviously they're all over this news, but I couldn't find like news stories about it or anything.
Okay.
Just, I wanted to get to the bottom of
it. Where's the press release, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe I don't have access to the PR sites, but it pointed me towards a controversy, a Nutella controversy that had happened 6 or 7 years ago that I did want to get your take on, okay? Because Nutella's a bunch of fucking tricksters, JD. They're trying to fuck with us, and I want to explain to you how. So Nutella is currently classified as a dessert topping with a rack, RACC, of 2 tablespoons, okay? A rack just means reference amount customarily consumed. So that's like what makes up the serving size of a product.
Okay.
And what I didn't know when I was reading about this, I always thought a serving size was how much you should eat.
Right.
But that's not what it is. It is a serving size is how much Americans typically consume in one sitting.
Okay.
So it's just designed to give you like a general benchmark so you could compare foods, right?
Right.
So it's classified as dessert topping. That means that the dessert toppings are all, the serving size is 2 tablespoons. So when you're looking at them all on the shelf and you say this is like 110 calories, 130 calories,
right,
you know for how much actual food you're eating.
Okay.
But that's where these big Nutella is trying to fuck with us. So the people that manufacture it's called Ferrero.
Yeah.
And they were trying to reclassify Nutella from a dessert to another category called honey jams, jellies, fruit butter, molasses.
Right.
Now here's the devious reason why. Honey's, jams, jellies, fruit butter, molasses, those serving sizes are all 100 or one teaspoon.
Okay.
Instead of 2.
Right.
Which means that it would have taken the amount of like calories and sugar in Nutella from 188 calories for 2 tablespoons to like 100. In which case they could classify it as like a low cal item.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
Right.
And so they would basically just be encouraging Americans to eat more of something that is like deathly unhealthy that people shouldn't even be eating for breakfast.
No. Yeah, you're right. Yes, I hear what you're saying.
But I knew immediately you were going to try to defend Nutella.
Oh, I am definitely team Nutella. Who eats, well, I know there are people, but 2 tablespoons of Nutella is a fucking lot of Nutella. Like on a crepe. Is
it though? If you're baking if you do 2 pieces of bread, wouldn't you say
not 2
1 tablespoon? A tablespoon's not that big.
It is pretty big. The way I consume it with my peanut butter, it's like a schmear. Not even it's like jam or jelly. How I would add that to a peanut butter. It's nowhere near.
So you're saying for you it is in the honey, jams, jellies category.
100%.
Okay. So I looked it up. There was a study done. Not a study, but a poll taken. So the 2 years that are available are 1991 and 2012. Okay. So listen to how much our consumption of Nutella has changed. In 1991, the number one way to consume Nutella was on ice cream.
Interesting.
A dessert topper.
Okay.
It's 27% of people. Bread was number 5. Only 8% of people were eating Nutella on bread in 1991. 2012, which is already like 11 years ago, number 1, bread, 60% of people.
Wow.
Number 2, sandwiches, which to me seems like bread. Number 3, crackers, which is just a thin piece of bread. You got to go all the way down to the bottom, ice cream. Only 2% of people are now eating Nutella on ice cream.
Wow, that's interesting.
We've changed the whole paradigm.
Right.
The Overton window on Nutella has completely shifted.
Do you think that it's because in America it is packaged in the same way that peanut butter and jams and things that you would spread on, bread are packaged like in a jar, like a jar-shaped vessel that Nutella is?
Well, how would you like to see a package in a radioactive canister?
Well, if it was to go on ice cream, for example, if it was in like a squeezed bottle, like a ketchup, you know what I mean? Where you would drizzle it on top of ice cream.
Honestly, that's not a bad idea. It might be too viscous to squirt.
Yeah, I think you're right. Although, is that not how they do it in Paris? Or do they just...
I guess you could put anything, in like those restaurant, like generic ketchup bottles.
Yeah.
With the screw top with the nozzle.
Yeah. I mean, if they do it like Chipotle sour cream comes out of the...
It's thicker than sour cream.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Anyways, I want to alert you to another thing that they did. So Ferrero, like they've done this before.
You're never going to turn me against Nutella. Never.
No, okay, but just listen to how crazy this is. Like, it's like... This is why we're all so unhealthy. Because like even when the government's like, oh, here's an idea. We're going to print all the facts on the side of the food. Mm-hmm. Listen to just how like lawyers find a way to fuck us. So I forget. Okay, this is in the 90s. So Ferrero also owns Tic Tacs.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
just
yeah.
A delightful brand of breath mints.
Sure.
So the serving size for breath mints was 2 grams at the time, and that worked out to 5 Tic Tacs. So Ferrero, they had 2 problems with it, the serving size being 5 Tic Tacs. Number 1, they said that in their advertising, they claimed 1 breath mint is all you need. Mm-hmm. So people would be confused. Like, if 1's all I need, why is it telling me a serving size is 5?
Right.
But the more important thing is that those 2 grams of Tic Tacs, that contains 0.5 grams of sugar. And that is more than 0.5 grams of sugar. And 0.5 grams of sugar is the FDA threshold for labeling a product sugar-free. So if it's less than 0.5, they're like, it's de minimis, it's not important. So we're going to just say it's sugar-free.
Right.
So a single Tic Tac falls under that.
Right.
So they changed it so that the serving size is 1 Tic Tac, so they can now say Tic Tacs are sugar-free. What is the basically only ingredient in Tic Tac? Sugar.
Right.
It's not free from sugar. It's just that when you reduce the serving size to one measly Tic Tac, it's sugar free.
Okay, how many Tic Tacs are you eating at one time?
A handful?
A handful? The
Well,
box
so
is a
delicious.
handful. Like that's
No. Like I would usually put three to 5 in my mouth at a time.
wow, really?
Yeah, they're like nerds to me.
I guess, yeah.
Sophisticated nerds.
Did
I ever tell you the story about when I was in high school? I would have Tic Tacs on me.
Okay.
And I was also, for November 11th when we do Remembrance Day in Canada, which was take pretty seriously there in my school especially. So we'd all have to carry, or they would select people to carry flags down an aisle and then put them in those holders and stand next to them at attention. And you would there'd be bagpipes in the procession, and then you would read Flanders Field. And I'm walking, and I realize, they're like, okay, this is how you spin around when you hold the flag. Then I got the Tic Tacs on me, and it's making a lot of noise, and it's going to be deathly quiet, right?
Yeah.
So I see a guy, and I'm like, oh, hey. It wasn't like a close friend of mine, but I was like, hey, could you hold these Tic Tacs for me? So I go do the thing. I come out, I say, oh, can I get those Tic Tacs back? He's like, oh, yeah, I ate them.
The whole thing.
What do you mean you ate them? It's like, yeah, I ate them. It's like the whole thing. He's like, well, I had some. Then other people were asking, so I was giving them. So it's like, you gave out all my Tic Tacs in a 45-minute assembly? And I got really upset.
Of
because
course.
when you're like 15 years old, especially the kind of high school I went to, which was very rigid, they didn't let you out at lunch. Right. There was no free periods where you could go, or there was no vending machine even.
Yeah.
So if I got this Tic Tacs, I was like, this is gotta last me 2 weeks till I can get back out into the world. Anyways, I ended up being the villain of the story because everyone was like, hey man, you're being really hard on this guy about the Tic Tacs. Like, but I told him to hold them for you. Sure, take 1, 2, 3, but he dispensed the entire pack. And people were like, yeah, but you're making a big deal out of it, and it's kind of freaking people out. But I was like, no, this is a matter of principle. Anyways, this is the kind of thing that people still remind me of now, 30 years later. Remember when you got really angry at that guy because he ate your Tic Tacs? And now I have to pretend that, oh yeah, I was so crazy, I made a big deal out of it. But I still think I was right.
I think you're 100% right.
Thank you. We needed upstanding citizens like yourself at my school.
What flavor?
White.
Just
I know
white
that's not
mint.
a flavor, but
peppermint, whatever. Yeah.
Peppermint. The colored flavors were gross, to be honest. The orange flavor, was repulsive.
Yeah, but you like the orange Trident gum.
But that was different. That was they can pack fruit flavors into gum better than they could pack them into a Tic Tac.
I guess, yeah.
But then again, I haven't had a Tic Tac in, honestly, I want to say 20 years, confidently.
Yeah, same.
Certs? Used to love Certs.
Do they make them anymore? Have we talked about Certs before? I feel like it's come up before.
I forget why. I feel like because we were talking about Retsin.
Yeah.
They would always say
oh, you know how we
now
talk
with
about
Retsin, and I was like, oh, I guess I love Retsin.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is. All right, some quick housekeeping, JD. You can join our Patreon, patreon.com/isthisgood. The Patreon live stream hangout, that's already on the books. And I forgot to write it down, so I'm opening my calendar just to double check when it is.
What is it?
It is...
Is it the 31st?
It is the 31st, which is a Thursday. 31st of August at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. So join the Discord. Well, I mean, join the Patreon, then you can join the Discord, then you can join the live stream hangout. Right. Always a lot. I don't even know what's going to happen. I haven't even started thinking about it.
Yeah, me neither. It's still a ways away.
It's still a ways away.
2 weeks.
And of course, send me emails, isthisgoodpod@gmail.com. Subscribe on YouTube and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. So some follow-up, JD.
Yeah.
We talked about pay it forward scams. Or
yes.
no, I guess not scams, but just pay it forward, which I believe is a scam. And I think you were on the side that it is a scam as well.
I too think it's a scam.
Okay, yes. So I want to thank everyone who sent this article in from the New York Post, and a lot of people sent it in. The headline says, "Pay it forward scam led to confrontation at Taco Bell that left customer, quote, scared over $60 order." Did you see this article?
I did not.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So Meredith Donovan, she's a content creator. Do you consider yourself a content creator?
I mean, I don't, weirdly, but that's all I do all day long is create content.
I know, but what a bad name, right?
Yeah, it's so... Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, what's worse... When you're at a party and you're like, what do you do for a living, you know? And it's like, I'm always like, I'm a producer. So like, I feel icky about it, you know? For some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, but how are you going to feel if you say...
Content creator is way worse.
You're going to get laughed out of the room.
Way ickier. Yeah.
You're hanging out with parents, people that are like in their late 40s, their early 50s, that have kids.
And real jobs.
They're going to want to hear that their peer is a content creator.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but do you even think that the people that call themselves content creator in like a written, article or on a pitch deck, do they tell people that they're content creators?
I mean,
I guess so. Our kids, it's like a new job.
I guess, but anyone with an iPhone is a content creator. Anyone with an Instagram account is a content creator. Like,
well, we'll get to the source of this article in a second. All right, Meredith Donovan, she's a content creator. She orders $60 worth of Taco Bell from a drive-thru, which many people have pointed out. That is a lot of Taco Bell.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Like, it's possibly a concerning amount.
You could feed 10 people, probably, right? $60.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say you could get 3 for like $6.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess depends what you get. I don't.
I don't go there. I've been to Taco Bell maybe 5 times in my life.
Hey, did you ever actually go to Crumble Cookie?
Nope.
Wasn't that a challenge on the show? You had to go.
Oh, is it a challenge? I'll go. It's right around the corner.
And well, it's so right around the corner that you still haven't been.
I just kind of forgot, to be honest.
All right. Well, if you walk past. All right. So this is Meredith speaking. The car in front of me pulls up to the pay window. I'm on my phone and I just hear a car door slam. I look up and this lady gets out and is running towards my car, screaming her head off. I couldn't make out what she was saying at first, so I rolled up my windows and I locked the door because I was scared. Donovan said she eventually realized what had upset the woman because she could still hear the customer screaming despite her car windows being closed. I heard scam, Donovan noted. It turned out that the woman was upset because a pay it forward chain had been started at the Taco Bell drive-thru by a prior customer. Basically, the car before her paid for her meal, so she was going to be a good person and pay for the car behind her. Donovan said in her video there was a mix-up of cars in the drive-thru lane. This led to Taco Bell employees to present Donovan's expensive order to the woman who was reportedly angered by the amount. We can come back to that because the fuck does that mean? While Donovan appeared to have skipped a few details about how his solution was resolved, she claimed the woman, quote, apologized, and they had a little laugh. Okay. I mean, my first complaint about this story is that I clicked on like the link to her TikTok. This entire article is based on like a 20-second TikTok.
Right.
It's just her in a car. She could be anywhere, telling the story. Just the fact that this is what the news story is based on is insane to me.
Yeah.
Like no follow-up with her.
Right.
We didn't interview the person that was yelling at her. They just throw in this line. Donovan said in her video there was a mix-up of cars in the drive-thru lane. This led the Taco Bell employees to present Donovan's expensive order to the woman who was reportedly angered. How would that even happen?
So, sorry, this whole article is based on one TikTok.
One TikTok.
So it's basically reporting on one TikTok.
Yes. We're not even confirmed if it ever happened. Like,
wow.
This is like the New York Post is going to put in a headline like that's like, man accidentally steals hat. And it's just going to be me in my car with my phone going, okay, crazy story. So I was at Target and I had my hands full with detergent, right?
Yeah.
Because I buy a lot of detergent and a lot of cleaning solvents. And then I see this cool hat, right? And it's like not a fedora, but it's like a summer hat, brim all around, but you can get it wet, which I thought would be useful for the pool. So I put the hat to try it on, and I'm walking around the store. I go to the cash. I forget I'm wearing the hat, right? It's crazy. So I pay for the cleaning solvents and the detergent. Then I get outside. Suddenly I'm surrounded by a security guard, and he's like, you stole that hat. And eventually, I told them the crazy story. And how did she say her story ended? They both
had a laugh about it.
They both had a laugh. And me and the security guard we just had a nice laugh. Is that a news story?
No, it is not.
It's not vastly different from this story.
I mean, it is if you actually report, if you do your job and you go and talk to the security guard and get corroborating accounts of what happened. Yeah.
That's right. That's what they say if you're a journalist and one source tells you it's raining and the other source tells you it's not raining. Your job is not to guess who's right. It's to go outside and see if it's actually raining.
Exactly.
I just think this story only caught on because of the I think you should leave sketch.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Which, yeah. Anyway. But that's just a very dumb story. And again, I don't even understand what it means that the orders were screwed up. But I guess all this points to is that people hate paid forward chains.
Was the TikToker shooting a TikTok while she was buying the $60 worth of...
No. Like, it was like...
It's just... Yeah.
Suppose she orders, pulls over, but then again, I didn't see $60 worth of Taco Bell in the car with her. She didn't look as if she was holding in a toot, so I don't know if she'd eaten it yet. Do you have anything to follow up on before we get to our Oppenheimer chat?
Nothing to follow up on except let's dip back into the pickleballing world for a second because fun hacking is back. Hacking, it's got a bad name.
Fun hacking?
Yeah, hacking, computer hacking,
Yeah.
It's gotten a bad name, bad rep last 4 or 5 years,
When did it have a good rep?
Well, I like this kind of hacking. And it's more of a troll job, but it's also hacking is involved. So Rachel is a part of this pickleball club. It's a park, a major park in Atlanta, pickleball club. It's a Facebook group. There's about 1,000 people in it. And one day, Rachel's like just scrolling through it, and she notices, wait, there's a guy named Joseph Stalin in this group. I'm like,
speaking of Oppenheimer.
Yeah. And I go, oh, what? and then, of course, it's like, Joseph Stalin says, God, pickleball makes me so horny. Now, this is just great because pickleballers are generally old, right? So we're talking like boomers, not great at Facebook. And it's Facebook on top of it. So it's just, I love this shit. So Joseph Stalin says, God, pickleball makes me so horny. Next post, Joseph Stalin again. Anyone else? And then he immediately leaves the group. Right? So it says right under that comment, Joseph Stalin has left the group. Then this woman named, it doesn't matter what her name is, she says, no, it does matter. Her name is Kim. She goes, knock it off or you're blocked. But Joseph Stalin is already gone, right?
He's been purged, you might say.
Well, hold on. It's coming. Joseph Stalin rejoins the group and says, block me, Kim. I'm still horny for pickleball. Immediately leaves group. Okay. Then, of course, somebody chimes in. This is not funny. Stalin was the worst mass murderer of the 20th century. Okay. Sure. Someone else comes in. Well, actually, Mao Zedong was way worse. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here. This is good internet. This is
so
internet.
Good. Mao Zedong joins the group. And starts indiscriminately removing people from the group. So this person has tacked in as an administrator and is literally just removing people. It says Mao Zedong has removed blankety blank. Mao Zedong has removed blankety blank. And then Mao Zedong says purged. Like, it's just like a chef's kiss. And then immediately leaves the group. Okay. So then a new guy comes in. His name's Howard James. He posts in the group about games that are happening in Washington Park and Central Park in Atlanta. Are you familiar with these parks?
Yeah. Well, not Washington, but Central Park. Yeah, they used to have a music festival there.
Right. So somebody says, and he says, games are happening in Washington Park and Central Park. And someone says, oh, that's great. I really want to play. Where are these parks? I'm not familiar. Howard James responds, I circled Washington Park, left, and Central Park, right. If you're coming from the north, take the interstate to the Central Park, take the side roads outlined, if you're going, to Washington Park, And this is the screen grab that he put, which is a cock and balls, basically.
Very funny.
Fucking love it. The next thing, I got a person named Jefferson Steelfax. How do I add my wife into this group? She would like to play tonight. And then again, Jefferson Steelfax says, anyone pickleballing tonight? Someone says, I'd like to play. Howard James, the cock and balls guy. I do not have a wife, but I'm still interested in playing. Jefferson Steelfax, I would love for you to both play a solid game of Pickleball with me and my wife. Pickleball, T-I-C-K-O. With me and my wife. This group message has had some issues lately, so can you both prove you aren't trolls? And then immediately leaves the group. And then somebody says, I'll vouch for blank. She's not a troll. Not realizing that Jefferson Steelfax is a troll. So my new theory is that this whole thing is Rachel and all trolls. Like, it's all trolls. Like, they're just trolling each other. And it's just a goddamn beautiful dance of just people being blocked and people leaving the group and coming back in, and it's just a masterful troll job, and it's just almost not fair for these poor pickleballers who just want to play some pickleball. Anyways, that's an update from the pickleball world.
I believe it though. I believe because from what I've heard, Paul Pott was big into disc golf, so I'm not fully surprised. Before we get into the spoilery Oppenheimer talk, because I mentioned this, I can't remember when. Maybe this was on this. Anyways, I can't remember. But I have been to Los Alamos.
Oh, you mentioned that before.
Yeah, right. So it's 2019. We're driving across the country, moving to LA, and we were outside Santa Fe. We were hiking, and we were trying to find somewhere to eat after a hike. And I look at the map and I see Los Alamos, and I'm like, Los Alamos, New Mexico, isn't that's where they built the bomb? And so I said, Jill's like, we should drop by. She's like, well, what are you gonna do there? And like there was no phone reception, so I could just see on the map. I was like, I don't know, it's like 20 minutes away. It'd be weird to not see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we drive, and it didn't seem like there was much there. And there was a visitor center, so I walk in, and there's a woman there. She's like, oh, thank you for visiting the Los Alamos National Park. And I go, oh, that's interesting. And she's like, what? I was like, oh, I didn't know it was a national park. And this was like, she was just fucking waiting for me to say that. She's like, oh, really? You didn't know it was a national park? And I could tell she's like being really aggressive. I was like, oh, no, I guess I didn't know. I just thought parks were parks?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So you don't believe in conservation? Oh, you don't believe that the site of one of the greatest technological inventions in America's history is worthy of conserving and protecting the land upon which it was built? It's like, no, I guess it is. She's like, oh, you just thought the National Park Service was for mountains and fields, didn't you?
Oh, man.
It's like, to be honest, yes, I did. Well, it's more than that. It's more than that, sir, okay? We protect many different kinds of monuments. I was like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. So I'm like, all right, well, we were just passing through, so we just thought we'd take a look around. She's like, well, I really recommend you watch this video first.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, we're kind of pressed for time. She's like, I must insist you watch the video. I was like, she's like, you're really not going to get much out of it unless you watch the video. So we're like, okay, what? How long? So now suddenly we're sitting there. We're alone. We're the only two people there watching this video on like a shitty like TV that they wheel in when it's a substitute teacher. Like a 30-minute thing.
30 minutes? Holy
Yeah, it was
shit.
long.
Oh, God. Okay.
It was about the amount of time they should have taken off of Oppenheimer.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, that was just my Oppenheimer talk. We're going to get into spoilers now. Usual warning. We're going to talk about spoilers. 3, 2, 1, Oppenheimer dies.
Did you get, just before we move on from Los Alamos, do you think that, that person was a park ranger, right?
Yeah, they didn't have the cool hat on.
Well, that's what this is my theory. That's where they send you when you're not good. When you're like, You know how they would send people, if you're
yeah,
Russian, you get sent to Siberia, or like, you're in the CIA, you fuck this up, you're going to be manning a communication station in Alaska or whatever.
Yeah. So, or if you're a bad priest, they're like, now go, just to another parish. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, did you say Slow Horses? You watching that?
I saw season 1. I liked it, didn't love it.
Okay.
Are you a big Slow Horses guy?
I mean, I'm a big Oldman guy, for sure.
Love Oldman.
Who's in this movie?
And one of the themes of this movie was every 10 minutes being like, what? That guy's in this movie? I didn't know that.
Oldman is great in this, but you're right. It is like kind of distracting, the big names that are in this movie. Like, you're like, oh, that guy. Oh, that guy. But Oldman was the most distracting because he was just in a movie a couple of years ago playing his counterpart, Winston Churchill, right? Like, in The Darkest Hour. So it's just like,
I wasn't even thinking that.
He's playing the guy that's on the other end of the phone when he's talking in The Darkest Hour. Anyways, I found the cast I thought it was great, but very distracting.
Well, Rami Malek comes up at some point, and the whole movie, it's distracting me because I'm like, why the fuck would Rami Malek take this role? He hasn't said a word yet.
Yeah.
He said maybe one sentence this whole movie, and then obviously it's he gets this sort of big moment at the end.
Yeah. But that kind of ruined that moment a little bit because I was like, oh yeah, okay, Rami's coming up, and that's going to be the turnaround.
Right. Well, anyways, yeah, it was a little bit distracting.
Did Rami Malek have to be in that movie?
No, but I would say a lot of people. First of all, another thing that distracted me was I thought Jack Quaid was Joshua Jackson the whole movie. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. What a come up for him. Joshua Jackson's in this. What's his name? Joshua Peck, who was in that Disney show that we didn't get in Canada. Drake and Josh? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Anyways, that was something.
Yeah.
Who else was it? I mean, obviously Damon. Casey Affleck just shows up at some point. Yeah.
I thought that guy got canceled.
I kind of thought so too, but
anyways, whatever.
Maybe Damon put his foot down and said, "We're getting my boy in it."
Yeah, probably.
My first question about the movie is: did you see Oppenheimer's balls?
Did I see? I guess I didn't.
I didn't either, but Jill said that you could see Oppenheimer's balls in one scene.
Well, I think I might have been looking elsewhere in that scene.
Yeah, so I said, is it the scene where they're both sitting cross-legged in the hotel room or whatever, her apartment?
Yeah.
And she said, no, it was in the scene when he sort of visualizes them having sex in the hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's sort of on top of him. She said she could see his balls.
From under the table.
I don't know where she was looking.
Well,
I mean, it was an IMAX.
Looking right at his balls.
She was looking at his balls. Now I'm going to have to make a correction next week. Jill would like you to know that it wasn't like she doesn't always look for people's balls in movies. She just loves balls. Okay, that's the correction that I need to make. Apparently you could see his balls. But so, just give me your general thoughts. Liked?
I loved it. I did. I loved it. I did. Like, I walked out of there going, "Fuck, that was actually pretty good." I would go back and see it again, like just to see what I missed, and I just thought it was a very well crafted movie. I know that there's different timelines and stuff like that. Rachel, actually, we walked out of it and she said, "Well, that was a hell of a lot easier to follow than the Barbie movie." Not that this movie should be compared to the Barbie movie at all. I know that it will forever be, but I liked it. I thought the payoff was good. I thought I would like. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, because Nolan is very hit and miss for me. But I liked it. I loved it.
I liked it. I liked it a lot too. I would probably not go see it again in the theater.
Right.
But just I did find it a little long. Okay, I mean, like, one thing I didn't really know most of the history of Oppenheimer aside from the bomb.
Right.
And the movie is really concerned, almost you could say more, with the post-war years.
Yes.
And I'm going in there thinking, the climax is going to be the bomb.
Right.
Like either the test going off at Trinity or Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But that is not the climax of the movie. The climax of the movie is basically the reveal that Strauss, played by Robert Downey Jr., is the one who leaked the documents and is fucking over Oppenheimer.
Right.
I mean, that's really the climax of the movie. Because once the bomb goes off, there's still like an hour after it.
Yeah. Well, not to get all up Nolan's ass, but I would argue that the climax is the bomb going off, and then the third act is the fallout, right? And
yes,
the fact that
but what climax is? I mean, generally the climax of the movie doesn't happen an hour before the end.
You're right.
Of the movie.
You're right. But that's how he's. It's just a different structure of a film, right?
Yeah,
like he made a fucking movie that went backwards and forwards. Didn't have a beginning and didn't have an end. So.
Well, do you think this movie is better for the way that it's like chopped and screwed up and the timeline's all jumbled and it's going back and forth between color and black and white? Because it was cool and I was like, wow, this is really keeping me on my toes. But because I'm only saying this because I watched this documentary after I saw the movie. I forget what it's called, but I think it's like one of those PBS American Masters. It's on YouTube. It's free if you want to watch it. And just seeing the Oppenheimer story linearly,
yeah,
it almost imbued it with more meaning,
right?
Because you could kind of see how each domino fell, and then into ultimately how it affected the end of his life or the post-war years,
right?
But then again, from like an editing standpoint, I mean, it was done really well.
Yeah, it was well done, and. Yeah, if it was told linearly, I think it could fall into the sort of, well, it's just another biopic.
I know. Like so, it's no different than the one on Alan, like the one on Alan Turing. With,
yeah. Which is a good Imitation Game, which is good.
Imitation Game. Yeah, it's a totally fine movie. You're right. But I honestly think I bet what he feared. Like he was like, I don't want to just do a straight up biopic with the regular beats.
Yeah.
But then it does.
Yeah. There's this sort of theme of mutually assured destruction, which is definitely paid off in the end. And those events and you kind of don't realize it. They seem to be happening simultaneously. The hearing and then the confirmation hearing, they're like 5 years apart. And you kind of like don't really.
But they're both the two black and white parts.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that part of it was a little confusing, but it was very effective the way they were happening simultaneously because that's thermonuclear war, right? Like, you fuck me, I fuck you. That's it.
Right. So. Yeah, for sure.
So I like that part of it. Like, you mess with the timeline a bit, and then you go back and you find out what Einstein really said to him to set the whole thing off, which was nothing to do with Strauss, right? Like, which was good. It was that's good filmmaking, I think.
Well, because you could see that he has to set up these little like mysteries in a story that's not really a mystery, like these things that are going to pay off,
right.
Like the Strauss, turning, and also setting up that Einstein moment is like, as if he gave him like some kind of code or something that's going to come back in the movie,
right?
But I will say, like, a lot of people are applauding Robert Downey Jr. for his acting role. I do think he was good, but it felt a bit like it was a different movie to me. It felt a little more melodramatic, the acting. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, that part of it was like a Sorkin movie, like.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
but
very,
I thought
very West Wingy.
Very, very. But maybe that's because it was in Washington and it was all politicians and stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. But I also thought Downey Jr. was great. Like, I kind of didn't recognize him at first. He was the one guy I was like, wait a minute, who is that? Because I didn't know he was in it going in. So
yeah, he was one of the few. Because there was a lot of articles talking about how, like, finally he's not behind the Iron Man mask. You know, he's RDJ's back, baby.
It actually made me excited for The Sympathizer. It's coming out.
I read that book.
Same. Now that's a good book.
You read that book, JT? We should have done a book club.
Let's do it. I'd
read it like 5 years ago.
Yeah, same.
Did you read this? Did you read the second one? I forget what it's called.
I didn't realize there was a sequel.
There's a sequel to it.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
You liked it though, right?
I loved it.
Wow, yeah, one of my favorite books. That's a great book, Sympathizer. And what it's coming, is it a limited series or it's a movie?
I think it's HBO, so I think it's either a limited series or I hope it's a limited series.
Yeah,
and not a series.
But
he's in it and he plays multiple roles apparently.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense from the book. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to ask you. Did you see any of these headlines that was like Oppenheimer's grandson liked the movie but wanted this one scene taken out?
No. Well, I saw that they were unhappy about it, but I saw sort of the headline, but I stopped reading it because I hadn't seen the movie yet. So.
Oh, okay.
Is it the apple scene?
Exactly. Yeah, I had assumed it was going to be one of the sex scenes. He was like, "Well, I didn't really want to see my grandfather bone down," but yeah, it was the apple scene, the scene where he is going to poison his professor,
right? And
then has a change of heart, comes back and throws it away,
right?
And apparently,
and so did that not happen? Is that why? Or?
Well, yes. Seemingly, it's not really known. Like apparently, it's mentioned in American Prometheus, the book that you are reading, that the movie is based on, but it's not really like it for sure happened.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't want. It's a little bit of
kind of a big deal. I mean, I honestly was when I was watching it, I was in my head. I was like, "Oh, Oppenheimer killed his professor by poisoning him." I was like, you would think that I would know that about him, but I really didn't.
Yeah.
We always talk shit about Nolan and the sound.
Yeah.
So I would like to get your take on this because to me, I thought that this was fucking awesome. The scene when after the bombs drop, he's coming into the auditorium to like thank everyone that worked on the project, and there's like the thunderous of people banging on the floorboards.
Yeah.
And then as he's like giving this triumphant speech that his heart's not in, he's imagining the bomb dropping on them and all of them, basically being burnt alive.
Yeah.
And the way like the sound just completely cuts out, and then you suddenly like hear the squeak of a chair.
Yeah.
And then like loud noises again. I just thought it was so cool, like very affecting.
Totally.
So
yeah.
Hat tip to you, Christopher.
Absolute hat tip to him. The way that he acclimatized the audience to the delay of the bomb going off and the sound hitting was very, very, very well done because they're testing it. We're seeing the explosion, and in every other movie, like the sound editing, any director is going to be like, I got to hear it right away. It's like if lightning goes off, you're hearing thunder right away, and that's not how lightning works. But if you don't hear that thunder, it's weird. It's weird in a movie if you don't hear the thunder. But he did a great job of like when they're testing and they're going further and further back. And then when the actual bomb goes off and that moment where we're not hearing any explosion, we're just hearing the shuffling and the, like people seeing. And then when the bomb comes, it startled me, like knowing that it's coming, like, but yeah, that scene, the scene that you're talking about where the feet are going, we hear that sound before then as well. Like,
yes,
we don't know what it is, and it's there, and then it all sort of comes together. I did have, and for a Nolan movie, it was actually pretty good, but there definitely were scenes where the dialogue was completely drowned out by music, by design, for some fucking reason. I don't know why he has to be so cute with this shit. And I found the score, while gorgeous, goddamn relentless. Like, fuck. Enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
it's interesting. I didn't notice that, but now that you're saying it, I see what you're talking about.
It's like... he did the same thing in Inception. Is like, where, to be fair, all that exposition has to happen. He's just got I think it's Hans Zimmer in that one. Just a relentless drone of just music. It's just nonstop, which makes it super powerful when it disappears, right? But I think he could play with those a little more. Like, for example, when Blunt has her big scene in front of the committee or whatever. I don't know. I felt like she was getting steamrolled with the score for some reason, and I thought she had one of the better performances in the movie, in a movie full of great performances. And I know people are saying, well, the women in this are whatever, they're not given enough, but I thought Blunt was amazing. I thought she was incredible, and so was Pugh. I
thought Florence Pugh was really good for how much screen time she had. I thought she was great in it. Why are people already like? I assume people are already giving it like early Oscar buzz for most of the actors in it. Like, are people saying Cillian Murphy is gonna get Best Actor?
I have not seen anybody say Cillian Murphy.
Is it Cillian or Killian?
I think it's Cillian.
Okay, I think it's Killian.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy.
Okay. You're Irish, though. You know these things.
No, it's Cillian. It's got to be.
All right. Anyways, it was nice to enjoy a movie. Though we enjoyed Mission Impossible, but it's fun to like poke little nits at.
Sure, of course. God.
Barbie, definitely did not like. And then we rounded out the current movie discourse with a movie that we both liked and appreciated. Is this going to make you read the book faster or slower now that you've seen it?
Probably slower, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Especially now that I know that there's a Sympathizer sequel. I may put it aside and then dip into the sequel to Sympathizer.
Okay, maybe we do. We read the Sympathizer sequel as a book club.
Okay, all right. Got to give me some time though.
How long ago did you read the Sympathizer?
Like when it came out, I think. Like when it came out in paperback, maybe.
Okay, yeah, that's when I read it too. I kind of forget a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look back into it, but that's something to think about. Listen to next week's show. That's coming out Monday, August 21st. Obviously, go back and listen to the one with Tassie from this week if you haven't. Our guest is one Justin Everest Skeets. And this was we just recorded this one, a fun one.
Yeah.
Talked about hot tubs for a very long time. The horniness of the hot tub. Secrets are revealed.
That's right. What's sexier, a sauna or a hot tub?
Oh, yeah. We asked that question.
Yeah.
Let us know. And probably the dumbest subjective trivia we've ever had. Dumbest in the best possible way. So check that out on Monday when it comes out. Email us at isthisgoodpod@gmail.com. Subscribe everywhere. Leave a review on Apple Podcast. This was JD and Matt reaching out from the great beyond. We'll see you next week.